Hello and welcome. This is George Chan with LumiGrow Marketing. Welcome to our webinar, Improving Floral Crop Quality and Greenhouse Energy Efficiency with LED Lighting. This webinar will cover best practices for implementing LED lights for floral crop production. And today we'll be hearing from head growers at Barnes Greenhouses and Rainbow Greenhouses. I want to thank you for joining us. First, it's my pleasure to introduce Kevin Wells, founder and CEO of LumiGrow. Kevin founded LumiGrow to bring high-performance, energy-efficient lighting solutions to greenhouse growers. Hi, Kevin.
Thanks, George. I'm pleased to be joining you from Novato, California. In case you're unfamiliar with Novato, it's 30 miles north of San Francisco's Golden Gate Bridge.
Great, Kevin. Thanks for being here. And joining us from Chilliwack, British Columbia is Rob O'Hara, the head grower at Rainbow Greenhouses. Rob's greatly admired in the industry, both for his tremendous knowledge and hard work ethic. He's a driving force behind Rainbow Greenhouses, a leading wholesale grower and distributor of potted plants in Canada. I think the LumiGrow team first met Rob at the 2012 OFA short course in Ohio. And we hope many of you are going to be attending this year's event because Rob is going to be there, and he may be available to answer some questions about LumiGrow lighting. Hey, Rob, thanks for joining us. Now I'd like to introduce our next speaker and presenter. Third-generation grower Jarratt Tunstall is joining us from Barnes Greenhouses in Dunkirk, New York. Founded in the 1920s, Barnes Greenhouses is a leading wholesale supplier of liners and plugs, including vinca and vernalized perennials. Jarratt's always on the lookout for ways to improve crop quality as well as his company's financial performance, and his research keeps him in contact with both the industry experts and scientists. We're very pleased that Jarratt will also be joining us at OFA to talk about his experience in improving crop performance with LED lights. Hey, Jarratt.
Hey, George.
Hey, thanks for joining us. We appreciate you being here.
Oh, no problem. Nice to be here.
Yeah. Kevin?
In searching for an overall theme for this webinar, we kept landing on performance improvement, both in terms of crop health and in business health. A constant striving for better and better performance is a characteristic that all of our customers share. They're interested in better crops, but not at the expense of profit margins. That's why they've turned to LumiGrow lighting, and thank you. We're now working with over 1,200 commercial greenhouse growers and scientists. We're very pleased to help them achieve measurable benefits with LumiGrow LED lights. Here's a look at some of their successes.
Hey, great, Kevin. I want to take a 30-second break here and put out an audience poll. Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate you giving us a little intro. Now that we've seen what's achievable with LEDs, a little glimpse, I'd like to take a few moments here and ask you all some questions. So you should be seeing a form appearing on your screen there in the webinar. We'll give it a couple of seconds here as the answers are coming in. I see the magic widgetator is showing the poll results, and look at that. Look at that. Okay, all right. We're going to publish the results. Thank you for participating in that audience poll. It's the okay. So just want to parse through these answers here. The most important thing to our audience members is improving the plant performance. 43% of you said you wanted to improve plant performance, and we hear a lot about this from everyone from scientists to commercial growers. Next up was lowering your electrical costs. There's really no surprise here. The cost of electricity keeps rising, and LEDs can keep those costs low. Right behind that, some of you answered, about 15% of you answered you wanted to increase yields, and absolutely we see growers increasing their returns with LED lighting, and we'll hear a little bit more from our presenters about this. And some of you were interested in adding light without increasing electricity or increasing your electrical infrastructure. Now, LED lighting is a really great way to turbocharge your lighting without using any more energy. As an example, let's say if you were to use a 600-watt lighting system, you can add LumiGrow Pro 325 lights and gain about 60% more light than if you were to install more HIDs. Said another way, you can have twice the light with the same amount of energy usage. And the last bit there was reducing maintenance. Only came in at 2%, but this is a huge yet hidden benefit of LumiGrow LED lighting. Our lights eliminate hundreds of labor hours each year, spent changing bulbs and fixing ballasts. Thanks for participating in that poll. It's a great way to kind of kick off the webinar and get a good sense of what you would be interested in. So now let's hear from our presenters. Jarratt, let's start with you. You had a set of objectives that you were trying to achieve in your greenhouses, and as I understand it, you saw an opportunity to improve plant performance. So what were those initial challenges that you were facing?
Our initial challenges were mainly in the vinca crop. When the way we used to propagate was in the summer, and we switched over to, we do a lot of our propagation after October, and the vinca was just not performing well. We had erratic rooting and a lot of problems. Yeah,
so I think you actually made a phone call to someone to get some advice. Is that right?
Yeah, we sent samples off to Cornell, and we also talked with Rick Yates at Griffin, and the test came up negative for any kind of single cell phytophthora or anything like that. Basically, there was no problems with the plants; they just lacked vigor. So what we ended up doing is we had to buy in cuttings from South America, and those cuttings would come in, and they were, short nodes, stocky stems, and the variegation was, there's a lot of variegation in the color in the leaves, where ours just was, the complete opposite from that, and those cuttings would root fine.
Got it. Okay, great. Thanks, Jarratt. Now, how about you, Rob? What was your challenge at Rainbow?
Well, our challenges here started off with we currently run HID lighting, and it was the cost of running the lights was one challenge. The lack of the control system that we had for those lights, whether we were running them too long or not enough, and how much light, or when do we know when we're delivering enough light to the plants, that was an issue. And then moving forward, we're expanding our propagation house to a new 2-acre facility, and then the question that we had in mind was, do we look at new technology? Do we need to find a cheaper way to light this area? And so that's when we, myself started looking into the LED technology.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, these are all really good reasons for choosing LEDs. Now, to ensure these benefits are achieved, it's really important to start with a good action plan. And Kevin, I'd like to, if you would, talk a little bit about how to go about specifying LEDs.
Absolutely, George. As a first step, you'll want to quantify your goals. For example, if you're extending your growing season, how much revenue would that mean for you? We all know that greenhouse growers have sharp pencils. You'll want to make sure that the LED lighting pencils out for you. Then you'll need to look at how much light you'll need. Get in touch with a university extension, such as Jarratt, or reach out to the LumiGrow team. We can help you put together a light plan for a new installation or for a retrofit. Keep in mind that there will be considerations for each type of installation. For example, if you've never used lighting before, you'll find that you may find that wiring your facility for LED lighting is less expensive than wiring for HID lamps. After you've installed the lights, you'll want to carefully monitor your plans, and you need to make tweaks. Just adjust one variable at a time. We've heard from some of our growers that they don't need as much irrigation or pesticides or PGRs after installing our lights.
Oh, hey, thanks, Kevin. Now, Jarratt, so you had some challenges. You went out, you sought advice from experts in the field. Can you tell us how you got started? And I think you first heard about LumiGrow in an article in Greenhouse Product News magazine. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. I did. I got started basically we needed the lighting, so we started looking at HIDs, and the cost to run them was just wasn't going to work for us. And then knowing that the LEDs are the the thing of the future, I looked into that. I followed up with Kevin, and then eventually got turned over to Matthew, and we went from there with it. We started off with your pilot program, which worked real well for us to give them a try.
Great. Matthew Van de Sand is one of our sales account executives with a rich heritage in floriculture, and it sounds like he and you worked together to develop the lighting plan for your pilot, and then you rolled that out. Would you tell us about when you got those lights? What was your experience of like opening the box of those and installing them?
To be honest with you, when I first got them, I was kind of disappointed because they were so small.
Mm-hmm.
And all the spectrums were turned down to 0. So I opened the box. I was like, whoa, but then plugged them in and turned up the rheostats for each of the spectrums, and I was really impressed then. As far as installing them goes, it was just a piece of cake. They're so light. I was able just to run some 1-inch EMT right across the trusses, and being 2 amps a piece, I was for I think 2.5 amps. I was able just to run some 12.2 UF and wire them right in. Installation for the 8 fixtures probably took us an hour, and I had an old timer sitting around, so I just used a regular irrigation timer to control them with a just a switch. So it was really easy to install.
That's great. How long was that pilot program for you with the 8 lights?
How long was it?
Yeah, how long did you run the pilot for? Approximately, before you were able to make the decision where you were excited about the lights and you knew it would be a good business decision to roll out a larger implementation. We started seeing results within probably about a week. That slide on the left, the photo on the left, are begonias and some geraniums, and right there I was sold on them. The begonias push through that little awkward state that they are in, where they're about the size of a ballpoint pen and you start to lose them. They pushed right through that, and the geraniums on the bench next to them, they were rooted quite well within 10 days to 2 weeks. There was a different color on the geranium leaves. They were a deeper color. They were more cupped, and also the nodes were a lot tighter on those geraniums too, from the lights. Great. Hey, and thanks, Jarratt. Sounds like you had a very positive experience with our solution. Now, Rob, how about you? In your case, you were already running HID lights, and you hung up your LED lights right alongside your HIDs for a side-by-side comparison. Can you talk a little bit more about that, please?
Yeah, we received the lights, and I can tell you that when I first saw them, it was, wow, these things are small, and so I was a little bit concerned. But the one thing that I think is maybe misunderstood with LEDs is not necessarily how bright they are. It's the quality of the light and the spectrum that they're giving off, and that's what interests me. So our maintenance guys really liked them, and they hung them up and they just wired them directly into where our current HIDs were, and so we just had basically they just replaced them one for one, and we had them running in the front of a bay, and then I had HIDs behind them, and my goal was to see either I'm going to see significant improvement would be wonderful, or even if I just saw everything was equal to, and I didn't see any negative effect, to me that would have been a successful trial on this, with taking into account the quality of the light that the plants are receiving, and the saving in energy costs and maintenance, and also the infrastructure that you don't need to run these lights. Like if we're at our capacity for power, it gives us an option to install LEDs where we can't install any more HIDs. So all those things, taking all those things into consideration, it was a very positive experience for us.
Yeah, that's great. So you both started with LumiGrow pilots. Kevin, when you wanted to add something about footprint or hardware size?
both of you observed that the lights were quite small, and that was by design. Ultimately, there's sunlight is going to be your cheapest possible option, and when you add supplemental lighting, you don't want a large light that blocks that natural sunlight. So we've kept our fixtures as small as possible, and as a result, they're both easy to install and have a minimal footprint in the greenhouse.
Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to add about the installation, either of you, installing the solution at your greenhouses?
No, I think one thing is that as a grower, you have to get to looking at your plants differently because they have a blue, pink kind of tint to them. It's different than looking at that orange glow that you have with the HID. So that is something that you have to adjust to, but it's definitely after a week or so, you're kind of used to it.
Yeah, I'd say that was kind of funky also. It's almost got a purple haze to them, but when you're underneath them, you can actually see the different spectrums. Like on the table or whatnot, you can see the 3 different spectrums individually. It's pretty cool looking, really.
Well,
yeah.
And as with SmartPar, it can be set up as well that when you're working in certain areas, you can move to an all-white light. So that will give you a much more accurate impression of what your plants look like, if that is an issue for anyone at all. So, okay, great.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's get on to the results section of our discussion. Jarratt, could you tell us about the results that you saw with the LumiGrow LED lighting?
Sure. The first thing was the Vinca that we originally inquired about the lighting about. That did, after it was cut, we put them underneath the lights, and they mimicked what we had bought in from South America. We got back where we had the the nice tight nodes, the nice variegation, and the real stocky nice plant. Also on these begonias was a real plus. You can see they're consistent. And like I said before, they push through that awkward stage where we tend to lose them. Geraniums rooted, like I said, within 2 weeks we had nice rooted geraniums on them. And then also pansies were another crop that really benefited. And like I said, we only did 8 fixtures, so I wasn't able to do an extensive. But from what we saw, I was very impressed with them.
Okay. There's people have talked about PGRs or plant growth regulators, and what are your thoughts with regards to using light and the growth of plants without needing to use quite as many PGRs?
Yeah, that was absolutely positive. Also, these begonias, once they were transplanted, they were the lateral branching on them was phenomenal. Where typically that's one that I don't do much with PGRs. Other things like the pansies, those had really nice lateral breaking, and I used very little PGRs on them, and the flowering was also more consistent. So I would definitely agree that adding the light, I'll be able to use less PGRs.
Interesting. Yeah, it's certainly likely that many of these benefits would have been achievable with HID fixtures, but you chose LumiGrow LEDs because you didn't want to pay the high electrical costs of HID lamps. Is that right? Exactly
right. Yeah, I mean the HIDs would have been cheaper. The fixtures themselves would have been cheaper, but you'd be paying for them longer. So I wanted to go the other way around, where it wasn't going to be you wouldn't have to think twice about running them per se. If there was a situation where you wanted to run 16-hour days, you could do it without having those tremendous electric bills.
Well, thanks, Jarratt. Now, Rob, how does that compare with your experience? You tested LumiGrow to ensure that your crop performance was at least equal to what you were achieving with LED lights or HID lights. So what did you find?
Yeah, I had similar experiences. One of the things for us here, we're in an area where we can get more cloudy days than we do sunny days. So I'm always pressured to I want to run my lights longer, minimum 16 hours days, as long as I can. And there's always that in the back of your mind, like that the costs are adding up. So I had to make sure that by putting in the LEDs that I didn't see a significant difference in quality in the plants. I was really concerned about that. I did see you can see on the slide on the left when we grew petunia bugs, the ones in the HIDs were at the beginning pretty much the same. I didn't see a big difference, but in around weeks 3 and 4, the section with the LEDs really started to show, that they were quite a ways ahead. And those two flats are the exact same varieties. We simply just took half of the batch that was coming out of germination and put some in the HID section and some in the LED section, and it worked very well. I did admit growth regulators were a little bit less, and the results were very positive. We ran all kinds of different bug crops through there over I'd say about a 12-week period, and it was either equal to or if not a little bit better with the LEDs. So I was very happy with them.
Oh, we're really happy to hear that. Now, you'd mentioned earlier that electricity usage was definitely affecting your expansion plans for this propagation area. How did you navigate that?
Well, the part of the thing that I have, issue that I have with the current HID system that we have is that I don't know what my plants are getting for light. So to know whether when we're going into, let's say, longer days and better weather, when do I shut those lights off? How much light are the plants getting? So the smart part that comes along with the LED system, to me, just made sense. It's just a practical way. Why would I judge what my plants are getting from what my eyes are seeing? I need to be able to know how much light those plants are taking in to know when to turn the lights on or off. So it was allowing me to make smarter decisions with my lights. So that's a big contribution to it. The next thing was, do we want to go with an old system? HIDs is, to me, it's been great, but there's always going to be better tech coming along. History's shown that. And why would we not look seriously at this with our new expansion? So that's when we started to really work towards this, where we're at right now.
Yeah, and as you're planning your expansions, I think you ran up across some limitations around the electrical infrastructure. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, that wasn't obviously to do, to light up a big area with HID is going to take, I think, significantly more power. So that everything has to be beefed up, and there's a cost to that too. So the LEDs, they come along with a smaller footprint for everything electrical, you could say.
Yeah, got it. Well, it does sound like you did your due diligence as a head grower, as you should. And after that successful pilot, you're now rolling out lights over 2 acres into that propagation area, and that's quite a bit of energy savings. That's a lot. And I mean, in fact, that's enough electricity to power 400 households in Canada for a year.
Yeah, and we have a lot of people come through here through an industry, technical advisors and stuff like that, and that was the question that we walked over to the LEDs and I would ask, and I'd say, is there anything I can't do under these LEDs? And there was not one person that said, no, you can't. It won't grow good plants. Everybody said it'll grow great plants. You have to be able to say whether the investment is going to pay back. So that was one of the biggest reasons why we went this way.
Great. In this case, it definitely penciled out for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Good news. So, well, thanks so much for telling us about your experiences, Rob and Jarratt.
Sure.
Anytime.
Now, here's a look at more crop performance results that we pulled directly from our community of growers and scientists. Our own crop scientists, engineers, and customer service team work closely with growers to help them achieve their objectives. If you're interested in knowing how we might be able to help you with a specific crop, just get in touch with us. When we talk to growers, we're sometimes asked if LEDs are ready to replace lighting, HID lighting. Here's 2 successful cases that clearly states yes. But here's the thing. It's essential to keep in mind that one LED light is not the same as another. you need to look out for a couple of key features, and here's some of the things you should look at when choosing an LED light. First, find out who is using the light. Ask for references. You'll definitely also want to make sure that the light is suitable for the rigors of greenhouse usage. For example, does the light support industrial voltages like 400 or 480 volts? Is it weatherized? Is it suitable for damp locations? You'll also want to ask the manufacturer to back up their performance and longevity claims. Make sure the fixture has appropriate safety certifications and ask for independent LM79 and LM80 tests. These tests ensure that the LED fixtures will last for many, many years, long after they have already paid for themselves. Also, do your lights qualify for rebates? Utilities often have their own set of standards that products must meet. For example, LumiGrow LED lightings are eligible for rebates all over North America. Finally, who can you talk to when you need help? Make sure that there's a team there that can answer your questions. This is a new technology, and there's going to be some questions about how to modify the spectrum, how to use this fixture, because it's LED lighting represents kind of a new way of growing.
Yeah, that's right, Kevin. There's a lot of benefits here, and some of you are probably saying, great, but what about the cost? Aren't LEDs expensive? Now, growers are frequently surprised that LEDs are the most cost-effective means of adding more light to a greenhouse. As Rob can attest to, the sort of initial capital outlay for LEDs is actually approaching that of HID fixtures, and in some cases, your upfront costs may actually be less given rebates and reduced electrical infrastructure costs. Jarratt, you received a grant from NYSERDA, that's the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority. Can you talk a little bit about how that process worked for you?
Yeah, it was really easy. Actually, yeah, we were able to cover 75% of the fixtures with the NYSERDA grant. All I did was make a phone call to NSAVE, and they took care of the rest. They're just an independent contractor that works through NYSERDA. So I didn't do much. I just gave them some information, and they took care of it. So yeah, we were able to cover 75%.
Yeah, that's really great. And all it really took was a phone call. That's really good. Some growers also will choose to finance their LumiGrow lights through the LumiGrow financing program. This is another smart way to be cash flow positive from your very first electrical bill. And your payback will be affected by factors including your electrical rates, your run times, but in general we found that most growers are getting a payback between 1 and 3 years. Now, I'd like to open up the discussion for audience questions, and we have actually already received several. Here is one question. Does the LumiGrow run on 230 volt or 115 volt?
Absolutely. All the LumiGrow products support a variety of voltages, from standard household 110 voltage, 220, 277, all the way up through the 480 volt industrial voltages.
Yeah. Rob, what's voltage up in Canada that you're running your fixtures on?
I think it's 347.
That's usual, yeah, 347.
Yeah, that's, you're getting into technical questions about electricity, so.
No problem.
Ask him about plant.
Yeah.
Don't ask me about that stuff.
Okay. Jarratt, I have a question for you. Was Barnes Greenhouses using any supplemental lights before the LED?
No, we weren't.
Yeah, I think in this case, when you spoke to the experts at Cornell, you told them, and you said you sent them samples, that they recommended that you add you increase the DLI on your cuttings.
And I believe, yeah, as you mentioned, using HID lighting was just a non-starter from the get-go due to the monthly cost. Is that correct?
Yeah, that was correct. I mean, our margins are so tight, we just couldn't justify spending the money on the electricity to run them. And knowing that this was a thing of the future, I hated to spend any money on the HIDs, install them, and then rip them out in a few years to replace them with LEDs.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Here's a question I have here. Do I need to hang LumiGrow lights lower than conventional lights? Kevin, do you want to field that one?
LumiGrow lights are designed to be hung exactly like a high-pressure sodium or metal halide light, at the same level in pretty much the same locations. So no, they do not need to be hung lower. You can if you wish to, but it's absolutely not needed.
Yeah, and I think as with any horticultural light, how high you hang your light is really determined by the amount of light that your plants need
Versus your coverage.
Right. So it's light intensity and coverage, and that's where we come into developing a custom light plan for your crop needs, and any of our account executives can help you with that. I've got another question here. What are the recommended settings for the LumiGrow fixtures? Kevin, what do you recommend to people who ask that?
Well, we recommend that you start by just turning everything to 11. Turn everything up full blast. Work through your first couple of crops, and then gradually, as you decide you need a little more fine-grained control, that's when you can start adjusting the ratios. But in general, the lights are designed to be run at full power for good general plant growth. So, we have a question.
Oh, yeah. We got a question for you, Jarratt. Someone is asking, did you try the LED for perennials?
No, we haven't. We just do vernalized perennials, and they were already out. But I definitely will be this year.
Okay. We'd love to, stay in touch with you and keep abreast of your findings and experiences with that. Another question is coming. Do these have to be permanently installed, or can we move them from place to place in our greenhouse?
They can be set up to run, again, exactly like an HID light. You can either do bare wire installations, or they can be done with plugs. So yes, if you want to move them around, go right ahead.
Yeah, I will also add that our fixtures, the Pro 325 weighs 9 pounds, and when you're hanging a HID light up in those unistruts, there's some significant weight there. So there's sort of a benefit to the low profile light hardware design of our fixtures that I think installers definitely appreciate.
Right. They'll be absolutely familiar to your installers. There's no surprises here. It installs just like you would expect a light to install.
Yeah. Someone's asking, do you guys have any experience with our lights growing lettuce, tomatoes, herbs, and strawberries? I imagine the answer is no, but I'll ask that. Rob or Jarratt?
We grew
no
varieties of plugs.
Yeah, great. LumiGrow, as a company, of course, has great experience with those types of food crops. In fact, we'll be running a follow-on webinar specifically addressing the needs of the food crop growers.
Yeah, and Jarratt, did you have something to add as well?
No.
Okay. Here's a question. Someone's asking for a comparison of the efficiency and efficacy of LEDs to HIDs. Kevin, this is probably best suited for you to answer.
Certainly. With our latest generation of lights, we're using LEDs now that meet or exceed the actual efficiencies of high-pressure sodium lights. For example, our LEDs are 47% plus efficient. This is new in the industry. This represents kind of a quantum leap over efficiencies of just a few years ago. So in fact, our lights are as efficient or more efficient than HID lighting now.
Yeah, that's great. I know that in the not too distant past, scientists and some growers were concerned about efficiencies of the technology, and with the growth in the industry of solid-state lighting, the efficiencies are now as good or maybe even better. So we're really happy that this technology is progressing. We're really excited to be on the cutting edge here.
Certainly, and that in conjunction with the fact that we're not putting out this part of the spectrum is not as efficient for photosynthesis. how we managed to save so much power. So highly efficient LEDs, smart application of light, coming up with a total package savings of usually over 70%.
Yeah. Got another question here. Would it be detrimental to have an area be mixed with HID and LED fixtures?
Absolutely not. We have some customers that prefer an HID lighting interleaved with LED lighting as a hybrid application. Now, there's a couple of reasons for doing that. One is you may not be ready to go full steam into all new technology. So this might mitigate your concerns there. The other part of it is for some customers who still feel that the the heat output from an HID light might somehow be beneficial to them. They can still retain some of those benefits while still adding more light than if they were to just upgrade their systems from, say, a 600 watt to a 1,000 watt. They could do the same sort of installation. They could go a 600 watt HID and a 300 Pro 325 for a total of about 1,000 watts. But that same configuration would give them at least 60% more photosynthetic light. So there they get the best of both worlds. They get the heat, they get the light.
It sounds like another possible strategy for growers to consider. There's certainly a spectrum of options. Someone has asked about the bulb life and replacement costs of LumiGrow's LED lights versus HID lights.
Certainly. Our lights have a full 5-year warranty, and the LEDs are rated at least 50,000 hours. So relative to high-pressure sodium light that requires bulb changes on a more frequent basis, our lights are designed to just be hung and run. So you'll have you'll have no maintenance issues, and we have a fantastic reliability rate. In our 5 years of operation, we have less than 0.1% failure rate on our fixtures.
Yeah, that's great. Hey, Jarratt, I know you had you sort of had hands-on experience installing the lights, and you probably with your electrical knowledge, maybe have you had to go in there and do any bulb replacements?
No, they're all just self-contained and real nice to work with. Just hang with those little hangers on the conduit, and it was a beautiful thing.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I think growers and installers really appreciate the simplicity and elegance of just the way the fixture handles and installs. I think by now, if you were running high pressure sodiums or metal halides, you probably would have replaced a ballast or two and definitely swapped out some bad bulbs, which does happen. And is a story that we hear from growers quite often is that they're constantly not constantly, but there's additional maintenance costs associated with changing bulbs and repairing light fixtures. Now,
yeah, and on a
go ahead.
On a related topic, I did have, for whatever reason, one of the units failed, and you guys, of course, replaced it with no problem. But even taking it down was just no problem. I mean, I had it out. It took me longer to get the ladder than it did to actually take the fixture down.
That's great.
Right, and you had no problems with the replacement. We had that to you, I believe.
We overnighted.
Yeah, I believe we overnighted.
Yeah. Yeah, you overnighted it, had it the next day, and slapped it right up there. So absolutely no problem changing them out.
So I think we have a question for Rob here. Let's see, and that is, the question is, did I hear right that the petunias were accelerated?
Yes, the petunia plugs, I think probably we knocked maybe about a week off the production on that set. Now I don't know if I'll see that every time, but definitely on that batch it stood out. So it has to be quite a bit faster.
I think there's quite a body of knowledge starting to build up with respects to crop responses at various stages and different types of crops to various spectrums. So this is a really exciting field, and we're really happy to be participating in this. Kevin, we got another question here. Someone's asking what the projected life expectancy of our luminaires is.
While our luminaires have a 5-year warranty, we expect they'll easily last 10 years.
Great. Here's another question. Someone's asking about what it's like working underneath the light. So we talked a little bit about this earlier in the webinar, but perhaps, Rob, you could maybe tell us what it's like for you working under the lights.
Initially, it was a bit of a adjustment, but you're used to that orange glow from HIDs, and I think growers around there sometimes don't like to have anything change. So right away you're going, oh, what's this? But when you get in there and you're looking at the crop, you see, a lot of pinks and blues and everything like that on the plant, and it takes a bit for your eyes to get adjusted. But actually, after about 1 week, it didn't really bother me or the staff. You do have the option of turning on the white light if you need to look at the crop under the more traditional lighting. But I haven't done that at all, and it hasn't really bothered me. So what's interesting, what I like to see is you can actually see the depth of the light. I don't know if that makes sense, but you can actually see where that light is hitting, on the lower leaf surfaces of the plants and stuff like that. So it seems like, you're seeing it penetrating your crop, and to me that was something that I really like to see. So the light's getting where it needs to be.
Yeah, great. Yeah. How about you, Jarratt?
Same thing. It takes a little bit. Like the first night we got them on there, like I said, when you initially look at them, when it's light out, they don't look like much. But once you hang them up and you're working under them, especially when it's dark, there's all those little spectrums everywhere, and it gets you. At first you're like, geez, But then once you're around it for a while, it was no problem.
Yeah,
the neighbors like it better too, I think.
Yeah, that is a good point to note, is because the sensitivity of our eyes shows that we're much less sensitive to the red and blue portions of light spectrum as opposed to the main part of an HID light. So as a result, you'll see about 1/50th the apparent brightness. So your neighbors are going to be much less aware of light bleed from your greenhouse.
Okay, I think we have time for, was it two more questions? Two more questions. Someone's asking, what if I buy your lights now? Will my lights be out of date in a few years? Kevin.
Well, technology at LumiGrow is moving fast. But that said, every month that you wait is another month you've lost of savings. For those that are concerned about staying at the forefront of LED technology, we actually have developed a program that's a technology buyback program to make sure that everybody always has access to the latest, greatest technology.
One last question, and this is for our growers. Were there any surprises for you in using LEDs? Jarratt, why don't you start?
Nothing that was detrimental at all. What I saw was completely positive. Rob would probably be the good one to talk to, having them side by side, but as for what I'm concerned with, anything that I experienced was positive.
Great. Rob?
Yeah, for me, there was no, actually, maybe one of the surprises was just what I see on, some of the plugs was the accelerated growth as opposed to the HID. The other, surprise was obviously when we put them in the middle of our house, we did have a little bit of a cooler spot. Obviously, your system's not going to be responding to one cool spot in the whole greenhouse. So that was a little bit different, but nothing that wasn't manageable. And I think that when you have the whole compartment lit up with LEDs, you're not going to see that at all. I was pleasantly surprised with the less CPRs, and to me the science is very encouraging on LED growing, and just the they're the capabilities that I think are going to be out there in the future for be able to supply the type of light that I need for the crop at that time. I'm totally excited about it.
That's great.
Yeah, so it sounds like you guys experienced excellent crop response and fast payback. So we're overjoyed at hearing that. And it looks like that's all the time we have for today. Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Jarratt, for joining us and being our guest presenters today. Really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
For having me.
Yeah, and I'd like to thank our audience for your time and your interest. Questions that our presenters couldn't answer during our time today, we'll get back to you on email. And a link to this recording will be emailed next week. So again, thanks so much for attending our webinar on floriculture. Appreciate your time, and we look forward to working with you. Also, be on the lookout for announcements about our next webinar. This is the Grow With Us series webinars, and we'll soon be talking with produce growers, and you really won't want to miss it. To request an online demo, providing a closer look at LumiGrow Smart Horticultural Lighting Solutions, you can visit our website at lumigrow.com/demo. And we always appreciate feedback. It helps us grow. It helps us be better. So as you exit the webinar, please take a little bit of time and fill out that survey. We'd really appreciate it. Again, thank you from all of us at LumiGrow.
Thank you very much.